Yeah, I can't get you out of my mind, no. Said I think about you all of the time, yeah. Been imagining you all in my bed, whoa. Hey, cause you been running round in my head, yeah. Hey, I can't get you out of my mind, no. Said I think about you all of the time.
Donovan Mitchell is without a doubt one of the more entertaining players in the NBA. Literally from the moment Donovan Mitchell stepped foot on an NBA court in his rookie season, he has been nothing short of spectacular, as he has really become, in a way, the saving grace for the Utah Jazz after losing their all-star in Gordon Hayward. As over the past 2 years, alongside with Rudy Gobert, they have led the Utah Jazz to back-to-back 50-win seasons, and looking at what the Utah Jazz have done with their roster this offseason, with the combination of the West not really having a clear-cut favorite to win the conference, the Utah Jazz have really put themselves in the best position that they have been in a very long time, especially considering that they can contend in a very stacked Western Conference that's more than likely going to determine the team that wins the NBA championship. But a lot of that potential success that the Utah Jazz could have this upcoming season really falls on the shoulders of Donovan Mitchell and how he performs next year. Because it isn't very often that you can contend for a championship with your best player still being on his rookie deal. And with Mike Conley being on an expiring contract and Rudy Gobert now qualifying for a supermax, which I know is crazy, but that's how it is, who knows how much longer they can keep this roster intact. So in this video, we're going to discuss the 3 things that Donovan Mitchell can do that will elevate him to that next level. And when I say next level, I'm talking MVP caliber level, because I definitely see that in the near future for a player like Donovan Mitchell on this Utah Jazz team. But before we go any further, you guys, make sure you drop a like down below. Let's get those likes all the way up. Comment your opinions and subscribe. The links for my social media will be down below in the description box. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and on Instagram and subscribe to the second channel. That link will also be down below. Y'all, let's get into this video. Number 1, getting in better shape. Now, I know a lot of people are probably going to be saying, Mustard, you don't know what you're talking about. Donovan Mitchell is in fine shape. He is fine. And for the most part, I do agree with that. He is pretty fine. He's not in terrible shape or anything. I'm not saying he's in that Dion Waiters territory or hell, even in that Shaq territory. But Donovan Mitchell's shape was definitely affected last year due to the injury that he had suffered in the offseason. And because of that, that did hold back Donovan Mitchell from practicing and just working out in general, and he spent a lot of that time touring. I mean, I saw videos and pictures of him going around the world with that new fame that he got, and I'm not saying that Donovan Mitchell, once again, I'm not saying he's in that Shaq territory, but I am definitely saying that when you look at that sophomore slump and when you just look at how he played, he was definitely not the Donovan Mitchell that we had saw in the regular season or the postseason against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and a lot of that, in my opinion, was attributed to him being a little bit out of shape in comparison to his rookie season. And I definitely think that when you look at his defense, I was going to talk about that and make that a focal point of this video, but with him being that size and him being that height, I definitely think he's limited to that end. And when you look at the fact that, like I said, he was not in the best of shape, I definitely think that affected his quickness, it affected his footwork, and I think that next year he definitely does need to take care of his body before the season starts, which I do think he will. But I do believe that Donovan Mitchell does need to be warned and cautioned by a lot of the people around him that staying in shape is something that you do gradually year by year by year. You don't want to have 1 year where you're out of shape and then it picks up the next year. It just gets worse time after time after time, because habits can happen. And a lot of people may be saying, bro, look at his body, look at him on the court, his body looks fine, which to the average person, yeah, Donovan Mitchell's probably in way better shape for the average person, but he is in the NBA. He's going to be playing 35 to 36 minutes a night. A huge responsibility of the offensive side of the ball is going to be placed on his shoulders. It may be removed a little bit with Mike Conley there, but regardless, Donovan Mitchell, his shape is not really dependent on what you think the average player should look like. It's dependent on what the NBA player should look like. And Donovan Mitchell himself has even said that he does need to get in better shape for next season in order order to get better. So it's not so much as me coming at him for being so out of shape. Like I said, he's not in that Shaq, Deion Waiters territory, but I do think that he does need to be in better shape than we saw last year, because that sophomore slump in the beginning of the year cannot be happening with this Utah Jazz roster that they've put in place for this upcoming season. Number 2, his facilitating. Now, before I go in depth with this, I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell is a bad passer. I actually believe that he is a really good passer, but I do believe that he is not really willing to pass in a lot of situations. I'm not calling him selfish per se, but I do believe the tendency with a lot of these young players, especially when they're the star and they're the man of their team like Donovan Mitchell is I can do it all by myself in certain situations. And it doesn't always have to be like that. You're not Kobe, you're not MJ, and even those guys passed to a fault when it was needed and required. And I do think Donovan Mitchell can be, and in some situations is, a willing passer, but not enough, because Donovan Mitchell sometimes just has this score first mentality, which we're going to address later, and it does lead him to make some bad decisions, and sometimes the turnovers can get a little bit too hectic. So I do think as a passer he's good, but I would like to see him become more willing and more trusting of the teammates around him and fit into a system of consistent ball movement. Sure, if you have to take 5 less shots in order for the team to be more effective, then that's fine. You don't always have to go out there and average 25 points for your team to win, even though in the second half of the year that's what he had to do. But in the postseason and in some situations you can't always do that, and as a passer I would like to see him become more willing. So all of you guys in the comments, do not say I said Donovan Mitchell is a bad passer. I believe he is a good passer, and I'm not saying that 5 assists makes you a good or bad passer, because a lot of people are going to be saying that. Are you just saying that because he didn't average this many assists? No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is I would like to see him become more willing and not always be in a score first mentality in every single situation, to the point that you're not willing to trust the teammates around you, because it can definitely impact the teammates' success, and we've seen that from numerous players across the league. Number 3, his scoring. Now, just like the passing, I know a lot of people are going to comment, how can you say Donovan Mitchell's a bad scorer? I never ever said Donovan Mitchell's a bad scorer. I believe he needs to get better and improve on his scoring ability. Now, Donovan Mitchell can shoot the 3 ball, he can hit the mid-range, he can take it to the paint, he can do everything when it comes to a score. But I do think that Donovan Mitchell's efficiency definitely needs to be addressed. Now, when it comes to the defenses do collapse on Donovan Mitchell a lot. They double team him, and that is a result of the efficiency, because a lot of people do need to look at the efficiency and understand what goes into that, especially with players like Donovan Mitchell, Dame, CJ. Those guys are going to suffer, especially in the postseason when the rotations are cut at a certain amount, and then teams could just double you and force the role players to beat you. And when you got role players like Ricky Rubio, it's very tough to do what you do. So I definitely think that Donovan Mitchell did struggle a lot last year, especially during that slump, due to that kind of situation. But let's be honest here, he does force a lot of bad shots. He does not understand how to react to a lot of the double teams yet. And like I said about Ben Simmons when I made the video about him a few days ago, he is young. He can get better. That's why this video is meant to be constructive criticism for him to improve his game, to take him to that MVP caliber level. And when it comes to his scoring, I would like to see him also focus a little bit more on that mid-range game. He is a very good mid-range shooter. I'm not going to call him a sniper like DeRozan, but he is a definitely good mid-range shooter. And I think if he can find that balance, like players like D'Angelo Russell, CJ McCollum have found from the three-point line and the mid-range game, he can be a deadly scorer if he isn't already. And Donovan Mitchell is already at the point where you can name him among the top 20 scorers in the league. And for him to be at this stage in his career and have that kind of accomplishment attached to him, that is a huge sign. So imagine if he stops taking a lot of these bad shots, because a lot of people have already started to label him as just a volume shooter. And I think that's a little inaccurate for who Donovan Mitchell can be and even who he is right now. I do believe that Donovan Mitchell does take probably a little bit too many threes. He's not the greatest three-point shooter in the world, but a lot of that, like I said, is due to circumstance, but some of it is due to his shot selection, and he does need to get better at that. He's a great scorer and has the ability to be one of the better scorers that the league has ever seen, but his shot IQ and his mentality when it comes to, I gotta do everything on the court to save my team and give us the best chance to win, that needs to cut down a little bit, especially now that you have players like Mike Conley and Bojan to be able to help you. Mike Conley can definitely take off some pressure and provide way more consistency than that trash known as Ricky Rubio, and Bojan can stretch the floor, in my opinion, better than Joe Ingles. And if you look at what he did when Victor Oladipo went out, he was a 20-point per game scorer and really showed up in critical games for the Indiana Pacers down the stretch in the NBA season when they needed him most. And I guess if you want to throw Jeff Green out there, because Jeff Green is way better at spacing the floor than Derek Favors, so now the paint is a little bit more free, because Rudy Gobert, we all know he ain't stepping out and hitting threes. Derek Favors wasn't doing it also, and it's not like Jeff Green is some amazing three-point shooter, but he can step out there or at least line up on the three-point line and space the floor much better for the Utah Jazz. So bottom line, Donovan Mitchell has been given a lot of offensive pieces at his disposal, and I expect his shot IQ to get better. I expect his numbers to get better, maybe not get higher per se in the points per game category, but his efficiency is really what's more important. He does need to become a better and more efficient scorer, and though it may be the best part of Donovan Mitchell's game, it is the number one thing that he does need to work on going into next season. But you guys, that concludes this video. Make sure you drop a like. Let's get those likes all the way up. Comment your opinions. Let me know what you think about Donovan Mitchell's game and what you think he needs to improve on. And let me know the next player that you want me to talk about. A card should have already popped up on the screen where you can vote for the next player that you want me to address. Also, you guys, make sure you subscribe to the second channel. The links for my social media will be down below in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Peace.